Welcome back, it's Sam from the Fine Watch Club media channel. Today we're spending a moment of time with this now semi-vintage Rolex Sea Dweller, with the specs to match a number of newer luxury wristwatches. So back in 1926, Rolex released the Oyster, the first dust and waterproof wristwatch. The case was produced for under the waves rather than dry land, and Rolex ingeniously showcased their now iconic waterproof case by strapping it to the wrist of Mercedes Gleitz, who became the first Brit to swim the English Channel. The watch withstood 15 grueling hours at sea. Mercedes became a Rolex poster girl, and Hans showed off his marketing genius. Fast forward to 1954, and one of the most iconic and recognisable wristwatches was released to an eager Basel world, the Rolex Submariner, a more than familiar face in the watch community. Those Mercedes hands, the dive bezel, and of course, the Oyster case. So what does the Submariner have to do with the Sea Dweller? During the Sea Lab missions, which were a study by the United States Navy into saturation diving, they found that during decompression the acrylic crystal on the Submariner would often pop off due to helium in the chamber. The solution? The Sea Dweller. The case certainly shares a likeness with the Submariner. There was no time to return to the drawing board, hence the notable similarities. The Sea Dweller has a patented concealed helium escape valve, ensuring the watch crystal would remain intact. Again, like the Rolex Submariner, there are now a number of Sea Dweller references. It continues to be seen as the Sub's bigger, more capable brother. The lack of Cyclops until the 2017 editions, the thicker dimensions, and of course the much greater depth rating. Our example, currently listed for sale at finewatchclub.co.uk, is reference 16600, made in 1997 with a depth rating of 1,220 metres, or a little over 4,000 feet. This reference was produced between 1989 and 2009. And throughout these 2 decades, the Sea Dweller featured tritium dials, like our example. Others had luminova dials and superluminova dials. The 16600 was also the last reference to feature slightly smaller indices. For us, the natural creamy patina of a tritium dial really adds to the vintage charm of the watch. Let's look at the dimensions. This Sea Dweller is a pre-maxi case and a real sweet spot 40mm. The thickness is 14.8mm, so up on the 12.7mm of a Submariner case, and this makes it wear a little prouder on the wrist in comparison. The tapered Oyster bracelet is particularly easy to remove with its drilled lugs, and at a width of 20mm is a very popular size for aftermarket straps. We'd say the Sea Dweller looks very much at home with a rubber strap, and likewise can be dressed up with a tasteful leather option. The lack of Cyclops certainly makes an interesting talking point to those mistaking the Sea Dweller for a Submariner. Caseback is so obviously Rolex, but with the words Rolex Oyster and original gas escape valve. This original Oyster bracelet is in good condition and comes with solid end links and features the more traditional dive extension clasp. Newer models feature the glide lock system, allowing for small adjustments on the fly. The Rolex 3135 movement in this watch is chronometer certified by the COSC, meaning the movement has an average rate deviation between -4 and +6 seconds per day. The movement features 31 joules, has a frequency of 28,800 beats per hour, and is equipped with a 48-hour power reserve. Quite the workhorse movement, and can be found powering a number of Yachtmasters, Datejusts and Submariner references, and is famed for its reliability. This Sea Dweller has been somewhat eclipsed by the newer references. The 40mm sweet spot increased to 44mm in size, or even the 50mm in the new Deep Sea Challenge. Comparing it with a 116660, the size difference certainly isn't subtle. The new size allows the watch greater depth rating down to 3,900 metres. We feel this doesn't have quite the same daily wearer offering, now becoming very purposeful as opposed to the Sea Dweller we have listed. Ultimately, this nearly vintage Rolex Sea Dweller, complete with box and papers, is everything you'd expect from a Rolex. As the demand for the Submariner ever increases, perhaps this particular Sea Dweller is the underrated alternative that takes enough styling cues from the famous Sub with the additional diving credentials. Thank you for spending a moment of time having a watch of this video.